So when we will be talking about the today, so it will be all about the implement infrastructure, and hopefully we can reach out to the network, because in network there will be pretty much interesting things, concepts over there, right? So rather than just talking about their theory, we will be trying to go with their action part as well, right? That we will be seeing that okay, there should be some network segmentations, then some other options, okay, the jump servers, bastion server, those kind of things. We will try to implement the infrastructures as well over the time. Now when we are talking about the implementing the infrastructure, so in this whole scenario, first we'll be talking about the compute virtualization and abstraction part over here. So if we will take a bit of a closer look onto the same when we are talking about the virtualization and abstraction from the cloud. So from the perspective, what we have to look for the, we talked about the cloud shared responsibility, right? So if we talk about the cloud providers responsibility, in this particular scenario, what is going to happen is if we look from the perspective of the cloud service provider, their responsibility is going to include supporting a secure use of the use of virtualization for cloud user. So they are responsible for what? They are responsible. If I'm talking about the CSP, okay, cloud service provider responsible. They are responsible for what? They are responsible for your virtualization, right? They have to enable, like, yeah, they might be using Hyper-V to give you the particular virtualization. So their responsibility is that it is going to secure use of virtualization for your cloud user. Then this means creating a secure chain of processing from image and the source of these images to use to run on the virtual machine, all the way through a boot process with the security and integrity embedded on that. Means simply we are talking about the including the, it includes its responsibility include the consumption workflow. So if I'm talking about the consumption workflow, means from what they have, what we have seen, that there was the few images out there, like there was the Linux, there was the Windows image. So you have to choose from that particular pool of services. So they have their marketplace. They have to make sure that the images that they are providing to us, they are firstly secure. Once they are secure, the way of securely loading it, update, creating a VM out of it, and then the when we are deploying that OS, that boot, because we cannot control the boot on our physical system. So okay, a very simple concept with this is NAC control, NAC control, or we have that TPM, trusted platform module. Okay, concept of attestation. Okay, in the booting process, okay, you guys will be familiar that there used to be BIOS, and BIOS is now usually replaced with the UEFI. Okay, very basics I'm talking about here. So if you guys are familiar with that particular process, okay, one thing, I think Windows 11 update, it came, right? So if you have looked into its security feature, what is the one of the security feature? That it is going to give you the full UEFI support, boot time secure process, and boot time security will be provided by the TPM. So it is working on those devices which has this TPM module enabled, right? Which can work with the trusted platform module. So what usually with the trusted platform module is, it is in your processor itself, there is a kind of a crypto processor which can generate keys, store keys and certificate. And what operating systems they generally do, like Microsoft is a vendor, so what they will be doing, they will be putting a certificate of the integrity of the boot sector itself, that yes, it is stored in there, and every time the boot is happening, the attestation processes that certificate can be sent to the or stored in the third party server. And every time your system is booting up, and what is going to happen, this certificate that you are having, it is with the your NAC controls as well. And then what is your boot sectors into, because it is going to contain the hash output. Okay, so okay, like in cryptography, plain text becomes cipher text. Your plain text become message digest. Yes, message digest of the your boot sector. Taking the hash of that, and then comparing both the things. So if I would like to draw a diagram onto this part, it would be more of like this. That this is a system. This is TPM enabled system. It will be having the boot of the operating system, its boot sector that no and that is stored with the NAT servers. Now what is happening every time you are booting up, you will be sending your certificate, your right now what is your boot sector is having and everything OS, its certificate will be sent over here to NAT to verify. And if it is exactly the same, you will allow to go ahead and connect to the network and devices. If not, means someone has tampered with your boot sector. And if someone has tampered with your boot sector, means your device is in danger. You will not be allowed to go ahead and join the network. So a lot of these kind of concepts are there. So boot time security is something that we are also focusing, because there could be trouble at the boot time as well. So this thing, because this is a cloud, I cannot control this thing over there. Okay, that's a fact. I cannot control the boot time over there. So what I'm going to require, I'm going to require someone or something that can help me to control the your this particular scenario over here, right? The boot time security. I need to be protected against the boot time attacks as well. So that will be your cloud service provider's responsibility, that boot process is secured with the integrity, and it is embedded in it. So if you remember, whenever I was trying to create a particular, okay, if I was trying to do what? Whenever I was trying to create a new resource, let's say I was creating a VM, right? So in that VM, when I was going on the advanced management option, I keep on clicking on this boot diagnostic disable. So what it will be doing, whatever is happening at the time of the boot, right? That you are, you have the option. Okay, I was opting out of it because it will be stored in some storage account. I will be charged for it, and because this is my MCT account, so I'm having a limited, those free credits over here. I don't want to be get charged. What I will be doing now is, because others is also having the same problem in creating the account. So once I will be creating, doing one simple demonstration of the disk. So I will give the guys who already have the account the time. Yes, so we were discussing that the boot diagnostic, right? So boot diagnostic settings, they are going to give you, so usually people skip it, okay, in the production environment as well. And I would say yes, in the window, because I have seen uh, window environment locks, they will be not making that much of a sense. But if you are running on a Linux server, this is a very good thing to get those boot diagnostic locks to storage somewhere, just in case if something goes wrong during the boot time process. So you need to have logging. Enabling logging is kind of very important to get the insight. So this here kind of a feature that is given to you, not only this one, because it is bringing us to this part. If you will see, there are all these things, gen 1, gen 2. So this kind of a thing might be coming into your mind. Yeah. So there is, if you will see that option, that what we were having at that point, it is going to tell you that your boot diagnostic will be stored on a Microsoft storage account, Azure storage account. So you have two options. Either you let the Azure create that storage account for you, okay, which is recommended, because they don't want you to create and manage that account. Still you will be able to access it, or you have already your some storage account, you can store those logs there as well. So we were looking into the gen 1 and gen 2 images in Azure. So if you'll be looking, so what gen 2 is doing, gen 2 is usually enabling your, I was actually this is the VM site support. No, no, no. they should be having this article where they will be talking about that. Okay, they have enabled the, these are the virtual machine sizes which is supporting. Okay, we images for general 2. So this is the some comparison between here. What are the features and capability? Like their boot in generation 1 is the PCAT, and in Gen 2, as I was talking, UEFI, more secure way they are going with. Disk controller, because their IDEs here, SCSI disk controller you will be using. Then there will be the, which VM, Gen 1, because it is bit older, so being supported by all different type of images. So with the Gen 2, these are, because if as I was talking, that Windows 11 is supporting only those devices which is having the TPM enabled and all those kind of things. Although because there is no physical processor which can have those kind of feature, but we can provide the secure boot diagnostic process. So for that they have implemented, made the changes on the Gen 2 images over here. So here you can see Gen 2 feature, secure boot on the on-premise Hyper-V and the Azure. It is with the trusted launch, shielded VM. It is not available here. Virtual TPM with the trusted launch over here. And then, this kind of a scenario is actually going on, keep going on. So you can see one more thing. If you remember, why UEFI? Okay, if you will be going in the history way back. So I think around 2007, first there was the EFI, extended firmware, your. So what was happening at that particular time? EFI was used by the Apple, right? So they use it, they make it kind of their own property. Okay, so it's like the habit of the Apple. So what come? Microsoft, AMD, Intel, and few other, Nvidia. These organizations, they came together and they developed the UEFI, right? So from there, this journey has started. Okay, and one of the reason was with the your older images. If you remember, you cannot have OS disk which is greater than 2 TB. There was one limitation of the your BIOS as that. So okay, I think you guys will be remembering something like that, right? You have that much of experience over there. So remember older times. And to be honest, we haven't think about the 2 TB of disk at that time. Okay, personally me, because I was a kid. So thing is, I'm not that much familiar with the AWS as well. I'm familiar, but not that as much, because mostly my domain area was the your Microsoft, to be honest. So I will be giving you some example over there as well, right? Which will be more on the security related to the solution. As we were talking about, these kind of features is kind of going to be the cloud service providers responsibility, that yes, that the whole consumption workflow that they have to go through, they have to work around with this whole things, right? So this is going to be one. Now this ensure what it is ensuring, when the whole consumption workflow is their responsibility. This is going to make sure that the tenants, they cannot launch machine based on image that they shouldn't have access to, such as might be sometimes, let's just say, because there are multiple tenants and you might be taking these snapshots, right? And now no one else should be creating a VM out of your snapshot. Let's say one was the others organization working there and someone else's organization was working there. So it will be more on the suitable path where it is going to be happen, right? So we will be what we have to do, that if it is belonging to someone else and they're running virtual machine or other process in the one that customer expect, this second thing is what you were expecting out of that image, it should be delivered to you, right? So before delivering, like I was showing you that particular vendor's requirement before launching a VM, so you should be able to review it firsthand, right? So review requirements, before launching any resource. So you should be able to know ahead that what kind of the options I am having, and according to your need, you should be able to choose. And this is the cloud provider's responsibility to give you this option to go and choose according to your requirement over there. This is, these are the few simple things that will be there.